Hi, this is Mike from BandLab. Did you know that BandLab has 3 new stereo effects? In this video, we'll show you how to give your tracks a bigger stereo sound with vocal doubler, ping pong delay, and auto pan. You can open this project yourself with the link in the video description. And if you find this guide useful, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be the first to know when new videos drop. Contemporary popular music productions tend to have the bass and drum sounds in the center of the mix, with the rest of the music occupying the sides. This gives the sounds their own space in the mix to be clear and loud. It can be easier to hear the effects of stereo processing on headphones, so I recommend watching this video with headphones if you want to get the best idea of what's going on in the stereo mix. I start by adding a drum part. I open BandLab's Sounds, click the Loops tab, and set the instrument filter to drum. I drag FVR 105 Alone Drum Loop Full 8-bar into the project. This beat has a stereo reverb, but the dry hits themselves fall in the dead center of the mix. I only want to use the first 4 bars of this loop, so I drag the right-hand edge of the clip to truncate it. I set this track to -6 dB to give me more headroom to add other elements to the mix. Let's add a vocal next. In BandLab's Sounds, I click the Packs tab and enter vocal into the text search field. I open the Afropella pack and drag Yeehee Female Tenor into the project. This vocal is quite dynamic, but I want it to have a consistent volume level so we can hear it clearly alongside the beat. So I open the Effects panel and add a Dynamics BL1176 compressor. I balance the vocal with the beat by turning its volume level down to -6 dB. This vocal sample is mono, so it sits in the center of the mix along with the drum hits. We can move the vocal into the sides of the mix and keep the center of the mix clear for the drums using the vocal doubler effect. In the Effects panel, I add a modulation vocal doubler effect. This effect works by creating 2 detuned versions of the vocal and moving them apart on the stereo panorama. If we turn the depth all the way up, we get a touch of dissonance starting to creep in. We can control the width of the vocal with the spread control. The default controls give us a wide stereo sound, so I'll stick with them. Let's try out the other new stereo effects on different elements. Before I add those, I want to make a bass line, which I'll keep in the center of the mix. This helps the mix sound solid. I add a virtual instrument track and set it to Synth Bass's Fancy Bass. I set this track to -6 dB. I compose a bass line that plays B, F sharp, E, and A. This sound has a little touch of stereo width, but it's pretty much central in the mix like I wanted. Next, I want to add a sound that I can use with ping pong delay. Using a short, percussive sound will help the effect of the ping-pong delay be heard clearly, so I add a virtual instrument track and set it to Keyboards, Studio Grand. I set this track to -6 dB. I compose a part that plays B, A, E, and A. This part is pretty minimal, but we can make it sound more rhythmic and atmospheric with some ping-pong delay. I add a delay, ping-pong delay effect. By default, this effect has the mix level of 70%, feedback of 40%, and left and right delay times synced to quarter notes. This gives us a slow, loud delay effect. I want a faster delay that's quieter relative to the dry signal. I set the mix to 40%, feedback to 17%, and the delay times to dotted eighth notes. This gives me a quicker, punchier delay sound. You can hear the wet, delayed version of the signal move around in the stereo panorama. This keeps the center of the mix free for the beats and bass. Finally, I add a leads, dirty Porto fifth instrument. I set this track to -9 dB. I duplicate the MIDI part over from the bassline. To duplicate notes or clips in BandLab, hold Option on Mac or Alt on Windows and drag them over. I move the F sharp and E notes to the octave up for this sound. Let's give this sound some stereo movement. I add a modulation auto pan effect. We can control the speed of the movement with the time knob. I set this to eighth notes and set the spread to 40% to reduce how wide it is. This sound moves around the stereo panorama, again leaving the center free for the drums and bass, but it sounds a little dry. I add a reverb, studio reverb, to help it sound more natural. Remember, you can fork this project and make your own version of it using the link in the video description. Have fun!